Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, October 7th, episode 87. In today's podcast, we get into four topics. Fresh off of their win last night, we'll recap the 3-1 series win as the New York Liberty defeated the Las Vegas Aces 76-62, ending the Aces' 2-year reign as WNBA champions. Next, we move on to recapping the game number 4 win as the Connecticut Sun leveled their series at 2 versus the Minnesota Lynx. We'll talk about the game. We'll also talk about what I'm looking for in game number 5, which tips off Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Next, we switch to the NBA, and we've gone through the point guards, we've gone through the shooting guards. Now, a very interesting topic that may cause some problems. I'll give you my top 5 small forwards in the NBA for the upcoming 24-25 season. And lastly, as we go through our season previews, we'll preview the Orlando Magic. We'll also preview the Philadelphia 76ers. And lastly, the Phoenix Suns. But let's begin today's podcast by going to the W, as the New York Liberty exercised some demons with a 76-62 win, covering and obviously outright winning as they were underdogs in this game. And it's amazing to really look at this Liberty team, a Liberty team that was eliminated last year 3-1 by the same Las Vegas Aces, in which I talked about the struggles, I would say, of particularly Breanna Stewart. But I'll tell you what, Stewie got help, and Stewie got help in the name of Sabrina Ionescu. And I've talked about this ad nauseum on this network, and me knowing Sab since about 2017, 2018, I don't think people understand how good of a player she is. This is a player that was Caitlin Clark. Before Caitlin Clark, she broke the NCAA record for triple doubles in a career. She was absolutely fantastic at Oregon, got robbed of a national championship opportunity because of the COVID situation after making it to the Final Four her junior year and losing in Tampa. But then also the fact that Sabrina Ionescu came in and got hurt. Remember, she only played 2 games in her rookie season, and it took Sab a little bit of time to figure it out. Well, boy, did she figure it out in game number 4. 22 points, 7 rebounds. And the key for me is her ability to stretch the floor from 3. Sabrina Ionescu went 5 out of 8 from three-point land, including making her first 4 3-pointers, as she was the lightning rod for the Liberty. And if you look at the series that the Liberty won, 3-1. Folks, she scored 20 or more points in 3 of the 4 games. The only game she did not, the 4.5 rebound, 5 assist performance in game number 3. And what do you know? That's the game that the Liberty lost. Sabrina Ionescu has cemented herself as a top 10 player in this league. I've always thought that Sab was going to be that. And what they now have is they have that inside-outside attack, truly, of her and Breanna Stewart. And Stewie, off to a slow start at the beginning of the game, finished off strong with 19 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, did not shoot the ball well from 3, shooting only 1 from 4, but she made big plays, namely big blocks, blocking 4 shots in the game, including a couple of big blocks in the 4th quarter. So when you look at the Liberty, you look at Ionescu, right? You obviously look at the play of Breanna Stewart. Breanna Jelani Hamilton, don't look at the box score for that, folks, because Breanna Jelani Hamilton, her job is to play defense and really be one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. It's a play of Jonquel Jones, who finds a way to get herself into foul trouble, but when she doesn't get into foul trouble, she's a double-double machine, still logging 14 points and 6 rebounds in game number 4. But there's an adjustment that I told everyone that was really big, and that's the play of Leona Ivanovic going into the starting lineup. Folks, she's a rookie, but she's 24 years old. So you know what that means? She is a seasoned pro. And here's the other thing people don't know. Leona is 6'4". So when you are the New York Liberty, okay, and you could go, right? Obviously, Sab being 5'11", and then go 6 foot, 6'4", 6'4" in Stewie with a 7-foot wingspan, and 6'6" in Jonquel Jones. That is a nightmare to deal with, especially with all of those young ladies that could shoot the ball from three and really play rugged defense. And that's what the Liberty did. They locked down, and when the hardest thing to do is close out a champion. And they did it with a 23-11 run in the fourth quarter, really with that 16-2 run, put that game away. It was 59, I think 53, and then the next thing you know, the Liberty put on the accelerator, and the Aces had nothing left. Speaking of the Las Vegas Aces, this was going to end a tumultuous season for the Vegas Aces. Remember, before the season started, there was talk of how they were circumventing the salary cap. And then we had the Dorica Hamby situation come down in regards to what supposedly Becky Hammond said or didn't say. That's in the courts, and that's also the league to decide. But you had a team that they fell on their sword because of the ability, or I would say the inability, of Plum, Young, and Gray to make threes. I've talked about it going into the series. I thought that's why the Liberty were going to win the series, because of the play of the three-point line. And they went out, the Liberty won, obviously shot 42% from three. The Aces shot 23.3%. Their top players, their starting guards, and Gray, Plum, and Young went and combined 5 for 18 from three. And I think that is an issue. I'm sorry, 5 for 19. It was even worse. And I think the thing people need to understand is in half-court basketball in the playoffs, the ability to make shots and defend the three is really what can win or lose series for you. Because there's not a lot of transition play. A lot of it's played in the half-court. And what the Liberty were able to do is they were able to take Asia Wilson, the best player in the world, and folks, do you know that Asia Wilson did not hit her points prop in any game this series? 21, 24, 19, 19. Go look at it, folks. How many times do we see Asia Wilson during the regular season be held to under 20 points? Do you want to know that number? Because it's not a big number, folks. And I'm looking at it right now as I go through. The number is 3. 3 games this year she was held under 20 points. The Liberty did it in 3 out of 4 games. 2 out of 4 games, but the last 2. You have to have other players step up. Now, Becky Hammond's made some interesting points in the media after the game. She said that there's going to be changes made. I believe so. And I'm going on record saying I don't know if Becky Hammond comes back. I don't think it has to do with the Hamby situation. I think Becky Hammond is going to be the first woman to be a head coach in the NBA. And I can see her going back to Pop now that she's got the 2 rings, 3 finals appearances, or 3 deep playoff runs with the Aces, cemented herself as the best coach in the WNBA. Now I think she can go back and she has her head coaching experience to maybe transition herself. Or does another team take a swing at her and maybe see if they can lure her from Las Vegas? I think she may be done there. And that leads me to the roster. What are you going to do? Because you look at that Liberty core, they're going to keep them together even with the expansion draft. That's a core that could be together for a while. What does Vegas do at this point? Got to remember, folks, Alicia Clark is 37 years old. Chelsea Gray is 31. Tiffany Hayes is 35, right? They got to upgrade the center position. Gustafson and Kia Stokes don't get it done. I think there's got to be a move. And I think it's Kelsey Plum. I think Kelsey Plum could be the odd person out. I think Kelsey Plum, who's had a fantastic career. Remember, she played her college ball at Washington. and someone that is a West Coast kid, I wonder, and this is just me projecting, this is not me saying anything, she's from California. You know, her mother played volleyball at UC Davis, right? Do I look at her dad played at San Diego State? The Valkyries are coming. Could Kelsey Plum become the star player for the Valkyries, the team based out of Golden State? That would be a good way to market that franchise and give you your cornerstone player. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying if someone gets moved out of that core four, I think it's going to be Kelsey Plum. Let's move on to a huge win. And I'll tell you something. There was a lot of points scored in this game, a 92-82 win by the Connecticut Sun. But man, I have enjoyed this series because these ladies, they don't back down. It's physical. It's trash talking. It's the kind of basketball that you need to see. Folks, I just sat there and talked about the fact of the importance of the three-point line, right? And how it plays into the playoffs. Simply put, really quick, let's run through these games. Game number 1, 77-70 win by the Minnesota Lynx, right? I'm sorry, that was game 2. I should need to go back one. Game number 1 was a win by the Connecticut Sun when they took home court, right? I think it was a 73-70 win, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? Remember this. Game number 1, Connecticut shot 40% from 3. Minnesota Lynx shot 25% in game number 1. 1-0 series lead for the Connecticut Sun. Game number 2, 77-70 win by the Minnesota Lynx. You got the themes coming. Here it is. Minnesota Lynx, 42% from 3. Connecticut Sun, 25% from 3. You look at game number 3, a 90-81 win by the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota Lynx shoot, 33% from 3, right? Not great, but Connecticut Sun shoot 15% from 3. And then lastly, in a 92-82 win by the Connecticut Sun, the Minnesota Lynx shoot 38%, and the Connecticut Sun shoot 53%. Simply put, who wins the three-point line? It was a game that Nafisha Collier was absolutely fantastic with 29 points and 13 rebounds, cementing herself as, to me, I don't think she's the second best player in the world. I think that's Stewie. But this season, she had the second best season in the WNBA with her, and she was absolutely fantastic with 29 points. But the problem is you only have one other starter, and that was Courtney Williams, getting 11 points as a double-figure starter. Kayla McBride continues to be up and down, mostly down. You got to remember, folks, Kayla McBride for the season scored 15 points a game. She hasn't scored more than 13 in any game. So let's make sure we take a look at that when I give my plays tomorrow. Remember, I'll put some plays on Sports Grid app for game number 5, which tips off tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 p.m., Connecticut Sun, Minnesota Lynx. Lynx as a 4.5 point favorite, over under at 151.5. I really look at this game and I think that I went there saying Minnesota in 4. I think it's going to be Minnesota in 5. I fully expect them to clamp down defensively. They're not, Sherwood's not going to allow the Sun to shoot 54% from 3, nearly 54%. And remember this, folks. Something you got to remember about this. Connecticut was the worst three-point shooting team in the regular season. Usually when you have games where you make everything, you tend to struggle. I like Minnesota minus the points, and I would dare say one of the best bets I probably will have in this game, and I'm sure I could probably get it for you right now, as I am looking squarely at the team total. I think that they're going to go under their team total in regards to the Connecticut Sun. I think this could be a game where they could struggle to score. So make sure you take a look at that right now on FanDuel. It is over under 73.5 points for the Connecticut Sun. I expect them to go under. Let's move on to the association. And as we go through our positions, let me give you my top 5 small forwards for this upcoming season. Number 5, Jimmy Butler, forward for the Miami Heat. Remember, this is a guy you can play as a 2 or a 3. I have him as a 3. Number 4, the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. Number 3, all hail the king, LeBron James. Wait, what did he just do? Number 2, Kawhi Leonard. And my number 1 small forward for this year, Jason Tatum. This is based on what I think this year, not what is on the back of their basketball card from previous seasons. Let's start off with number 5 and Jimmy Butler. A Jimmy Butler who is really, it's going to be an interesting year for Jimmy because of the fact that he wants his money. And Riley wants him to be healthy. A Jimmy Butler that when he plays and he's engaged is as great of a star and as tough as a competitor as anyone else. But Jimmy's got to bring it this year, and they need this for a Miami Heat team that's going to be battling with, obviously, the Orlando Magic in the Southeast Division. Remember, folks, Jimmy Butler, 20.8 points per game, which is about 2 points off of last year. He did shoot it better from 3, but he shot it 4 percentage points less from 2. Really important for Jimmy Butler to get off to a fast start and definitely play 65 games this year. I think he'll have a great year. Number 4, the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. And what can you say about Kevin and his career? I think, as someone as a basketball trainer, I think he is by far one of the best people to watch, and his skill set and how he gets into a shot, high release, tough to defend, and can really score anywhere on the floor. Kevin Durant scored 27.7 points per game, 27.1 points per game last year, and really was a consistent force playing in 75 games this past year. Shooting splits were a little bit down from the previous year, so we'll see how he worked to do that. But his shooting split, 41.3% from 3, is his best shooting season since 2021. My number 4 small forward is Kevin Durant. Number 3, the ageless one, LeBron James. And you can't say enough to me about the king, except I don't think he's the GOAT. We can argue about this all day. Kevin Walsh and I, my buddy, have done this repeatedly. I don't think he's a GOAT. It's Jordan. But damn, LeBron has made it close. A LeBron James this past year who scored, at 25.7 points per game, which is down, 7.3 assists, which is down, but 8.3 assists, which is the most since the 1920 season. He showed his ability to create. And at the age of going into 40, he turns 40 on December 30th. Can LeBron James continue to play this at a high level? I think he can. My concern is never with LeBron. My concern was the health of Anthony Davis, and my concern is the rest of those players and the ability to make shots. LeBron will do his job. The question is, will the rest of the roster? Number 2, Kawhi Leonard. Oh my God, what is Coach doing? Kawhi Leonard, that is often injured, is my number 2 small forward. One reason why? Kawhi wants to get paid. And Kawhi played in 68 games. Folks, do you know that's the most Kawhi's played since his last full season in San Antonio? Which would be 2016-17, 2017-2018, he got hurt, so he only played 9 games. But Kawhi Leonard at 23.7 points per game, great. 52.5% from the floor. Folks, that's the best shooting split of his career. 41.7% from 3, the best since 2015-2016. 88.5% from the line. That's the best of his career. His rebound, 6.1 off of it, and then 3.6 assists. I expect a big season out of Kawhi Leonard because there's no Paul George, and I don't know what you got left. And Harden and Russ is gone. If he's healthy and he's got Tyronn Lue behind him, I expect a monster season out of Kawhi Leonard, and I expect Kawhi to be healthy. And my number one shooting forward, or small forward, I should say, for this season is Jason Tatum. Folks, a lot of this has to do with the fact that out of all these guys, Jason Tatum is 26 years old. Every one of these guys, I think every one of these guys, is 34, 35 or higher. And if you look at Jason Tatum, right, this past year, 26.9 points per game. But to me, the 47.1% from the floor, best shooting split since his rookie year. 37.6% from three, best since 2021, right? 4.9 assists, career high. I saw something that really makes me think this kid's going to explode this year. Better. He changed his shooting form. Jason Tatum had what we call the hitch, where on the pickup, he kind of stops for a second, then releases it. He's got a more fluid motion, a more fluid shot, which means he's less likely to shoot the ball on the way down, which means he's going to have proper arc. I think a monster season, partially because of his age, partially he's going to the best team in the NBA. Jason Tatum, the number one small forward in the NBA. Once again, my top five. Jimmy Butler, number 5 for the Miami Heat. Number 4, Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. Number 3, LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers. Number 2, Kawhi Leonard of the LA Clippers, opening up that new arena. I got to go to that thing. That looks fantastic. And my number one small forward, Jason Tatum. Let's move on to our season previews. And let's start with the surprise team of last year's NBA, and that's the Orlando Magic. And the job that Jamal Mosley did with this team, particularly defensively, was absolutely fantastic. This team won 47 games last year. Its over-under win totals at 47.5. The odds to win the Southeast is at minus 145. The odds to win the Eastern Conference is right now at 18-1, and they are a 40-1 bet to win the title. So when you start looking at where is their value, right, it's very simple. The odds for them to make the playoffs is minus 850 in the East, okay? Minus 850. So, you know, New York is like I think the best odds, I think, right now are obviously Boston. You can't even bet Boston right now on FanDuel to make the playoffs because they're probably going to be minus 250,000. The next one minus 8,000, right? Then you look at Cleveland minus 1050, Milwaukee minus 1,600, Orlando's minus 850, and the Miami Heat are minus 375. So where is their value in this team, right? I think they're going to comfortably make the top 6. You figure the top 6 is going to be in no particular order. New York, obviously Boston, Philadelphia, I think Cleveland. Then now you're talking like Milwaukee, Indiana, Miami, Orlando. It's interesting that they have Orlando at plus 170 and Miami at minus 110 because they think that Miami's going to win the division. I'm a big believer in Orlando because I think they play sound defensively. I think the addition of KCP is going to be a lot better than people think. I think this race is going to be really, really tight in the division, but I think they find a way to win the division. My best bet for the Orlando Magic to win the Southeast Division at minus 145. Let's move on to the Philadelphia 76ers, whose win totals are over under 52.5. Odds to win the Atlantic Division 4-1. Odds to win the Eastern Conference at plus 470. Odds to win the NBA title is 10-1. And you think about what they did by bringing in Paul George and allowing him to be that third option. someone that I think is going to be fantastic, particularly the fact that he can shoot the ball from three, but he can also go get a bucket. I think that's something that people don't really think about a lot when it comes to Paul George, is his ability to create in the mid-range game. I think that is something I think is really, really important that Paul George is going to bring. So when you look at it, this is a really sharp market here. I'm going to go under 52.5 wins. I ain't saying they're going to win 44. I think they're going to be right in the 49 to 52 range. I think they're just going to come up short. And the reason being is, number one, you got to make sure these guys make it to the finish line, right? I think that's something that's very important, particularly for someone like Joel Embiid, who always seems to get hurt at the most inopportune time. Most importantly, that time being in the playoffs. And then you start to kind of figure out, like, are there spots where they could get themselves into a little bit of slides? Where are their back-to-backs? For instance, first month of the year, pretty quick, 12th, 13th, New York, Cleveland. Yes, they both come to the Wells Fargo Center, but that could be a tough little road. Tricky one at Charlotte, then to Orlando, then Orlando again within a 4-day span. I think that could be a tricky little spot then. How about at Charlotte, then going to Cleveland? Cleveland, it's going to be a tough team to play. January 1st, 2nd, interesting road trip. January 1st at Sacramento, next night at Golden State. That's a tricky little window. How about this home window? Home Oklahoma City, home the Knicks, January 14th, 15th, right? So they have a bunch of back-to-backs. Cleveland, Chicago, 24th, 25th. LA, Sacramento at home, 28th, 29th, right? Dallas, Miami, 4th, 5th. Toronto, Brooklyn. Oh, they both stink. 11, 12. We're going to laugh at that one. That one ain't going to count. But they got some tough back-to-backs during the course of the year. But I think this team's going to be good. I just think they fall a little bit short. Philadelphia 76ers under 52.5 wins. Let's end today's podcast. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns, whose over-under win total is at 47.5 games. This is going to be really, really interesting, folks, because this is a team that, if you look at it, they're minus 250 to make the Western Conference playoffs, right? The odds to win the Pacific Division is plus 170, but an interesting market for them is they're plus 175 to make the play-in tournament. That division is going to be a monster. Folks, I think you can make an argument, and should make the argument, okay, that if you look at, I believe it's going to be the Northwest Division, if I'm not mistaken. The Northwest Division could easily have 3 teams with 54 wins or more in Oklahoma, Denver, Minnesota. There's 3, right, that are going to get to 50 wins. I think New Orleans is going to get to 50. It's 4. I expect a huge season out of Memphis. That's 5. So that 6th slot is going to come between the Clippers, the Suns, the Lakers, the Kings, the Warriors, the Mavs, maybe the Rockets. I'm going with the Phoenix Suns at plus 170 to make the play-in tournament. I think they get in. I think the reason that the Pacific Division is the sharpest and the hardest division to predict is the reason why it will be there. And look at those 3 guys. KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. And think about the fact that if they all played 82 games, could you see them do that? The answer is unequivocally no. Bradley Beal played 53 games last year. He's often injured. A Bradley Beal that's still adjusting to the fact that, is he a two guard? Is he a point guard? I think he's a two guard. A Bradley Beal who has not played more than 60 games since the 2018-2019 season at the age of 31 years old, but often injured. Then you go to the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant is at age 36. Now, he played 75 games, but that's the most since his last season in Golden State. If you go further back than that, he's only played 75 games. Last time he played at 78 in 2018-19. Time before that, the last time he played 75 or more games was 2013-2014. So if I say that KD's going to miss like 10 or 12 games, maybe 15, and Bradley Beal misses 25, that's going to hang a lot on Devin Booker. A Devin Booker that I'm extremely high on, but a Devin Booker that's still being that was misused by Frank Vogel, who isn't there anymore, by the way. You look at their roster depth, and the key to this season, don't laugh, is Tyus Jones. I thought when Tyus Jones was in Memphis, he was the best backup point guard in the league. Went to Washington, this was probably a steal that they got him. If Tyus Jones is what I think it could be, then this team's in play. But I can't trust the health, and that division is an absolute bear. I think the best way to play this is plus 170. Phoenix Suns slide into that 7-10 slot, and they make the play-in tournament. This has been episode 87 of your Betting Above the Rim podcast. For all things sports gambling, download that Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. Next podcast, we may put a bow on the WNBA season as the finals will tip off on Thursday. We'll continue our season previews, and then we're starting to get to the big men. That's what I like to see. Power forwards. By the way, Kat, you're a Nick now, so you're a center, not a power forward. For my producer, Matty George, Vinny, who does a great job with the graphics. Thank you for listening, folks. Remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.